For almost 50 years, Midway USA has been America's go-to source for just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Go to midwayusa.com to see our latest deals and promotions and take advantage of our super fast same-day shipping. If you need a cooler, a new fishing rod, another rifle, ammo, or a reloading press, you can find it all at midwayusa.com. Thanks for your business.
A life that has the stories to back it. A life to be proud of. It's a Winchester life.
Yeah, baby. 6'8" Western. Oh, mule deer, baby, right there.
Tune in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV.
Just be sitting up there jacking Pepsi.
I'm there for the pack out. You just got to pack me in.
Committed to the bow early on. Like, I love getting close and putting a...
You cover a range of stuff on here too, right? Like,
we call this the THP World Headquarters.
You know, my grandpa Roy Weatherby.
I came into like that golden little pocket where there was like 4 or 5 different bowls. Just
You're Canadian? We're doing a Canadian podcast?
My name's Douglas Bode.
I'm Robbie Denning.
Roy Candy.
All right. Anyway, we're back. What were we talking about? What are we talking about? What are we doing?
I don't know.
What was Pete talking about?
I said, it's been a minute, boys. Nice to see you guys again.
No,
I wasn't talking about nothing. Derek was talking about his buddy's new bow.
Yeah, new Matthews Lift X.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, because of those cams, you have a longer draw length. It might be better in the back wall because of your draw length.
Yeah, probably.
Because the mods are different, right? You're not changing the cam.
Yeah.
It's different if you're changing a cam, like if you're going at the top end of a cam or the bottom of a cam. But because the cam's saying you're just changing the mod, it might probably be better for you.
Yeah.
I can't say that I'd be a fan of, I mean, once you figure out what you are, it wouldn't really matter. But as for a bow shop or something like that,
it's a fucking nightmare.
To have that many mods, a mod for every draw length,
like the V3X,
ridiculous.
the Phase 4 all had a certain type of mod. Like the V3, V3X, Phase 4 all had a mod. And then they came out with the lift and it was a new mod.
Yeah, they're not even the same design mod.
No, and now they're another new mod.
Yeah.
So it's a fucking nightmare. So now you have to carry all these mods and like they cost money. And like not only that, if you don't have it. But I mean, like they had a hard time enough just getting a lift. But
yeah, how are you supposed to have somebody walk in and walk out with a bow? It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Pretty tough, yeah. Wicked feeling bow though. Like,
yeah,
I get it, man.
Or Cadillacs. Hey, Pete, you and I were talking about, what were we talking about? You were talking about you moved your...
Been messing around a lot. So we were talking about
you
messing
moved
with my
lead
hold.
off?
Yeah, so I moved my lead off from 85 to 80. I wanted to see the difference in hold and and how it affected.
Oh yeah, okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So when you get your press, what I want you to do is set it up, either twist or untwist, like twist your top cable or untwist your twist your bottom cable or untwist your top cable so your top cam hits a little bit before your bottom cam, like an eighth of an inch.
Yeah,
mess around with that too. You'll find it'll hold better.
All right,
and also mess around a little bit with your draw length.
I was thinking about that because I think we were talking about it because it's in a different position. Like if you have more lead off, it's rolling over your cam a little more. Yeah. So it kind of it actually affects your draw length a tiny bit.
Well, and two is when you're shooting, like you want to be wide open. Like when you're in a hunting situation, you're wearing lots of clothes, you're always crouched out. Like you're always a little bit shorter in draw length for hunting than you are if you're shooting targets. So try lengthening a bit, and then you can really open up yourself.
You'll probably need someone to watch you draw back an anchor and see where your elbow position is. That's what I've had to do.
Really high and back. Yeah.
High and back. And if it's too far back or too far forward, that's, whether or not your draw length is too short or too long.
Well, if I don't have anybody that knows,
but I mean, for target,
I might get my drone out and just look right above with my drone, and then maybe keep an eye on it.
Well, you'll be able to feel it. Like with target, just try it really long with just shooting for target, because a lot of guys that I've been talking to lately, especially on the other show, they've been talking like they up their draw length to like half an inch for target.
Really?
Like these are competitive world-class shooters. So
Yeah.
I mean, they really like to open their whole torso up, right, and get full extension.
Interesting.
You
Okay.
think
Yeah, I'll
about
do
it
that.
though, you got your scap all the way back. It's probably
Yeah.
easier to say super solid, and there's
Yes,
probably less movement
exactly.
when you're pulling
Yeah.
back. You're already in that position that's solid.
Yeah. And if you're out, your shoulder's more likely to be down rather than if you're all crunched up, everything gets squished up. But when you're in a hunting situation, it's different. Right? Like my hunting bow is always set up usually half an inch shorter than
Yeah,
it
same.
is throughout the year. But
Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I'll definitely mess around with that. I know I registered for that Ironman shoot in Lethbridge. I think it's the 18th, 19th or something like that. So I'll go
what
down
happened to your
there.
bow too? You're talking about something. You messaged
Oh,
us.
my sight. I was outside because I've been shooting inside, but the kid's home now, so he's sleeping down here just for, I don't know, another week or whatever, and going back to school. And the weather's been nice, so I went outside and was able to shoot a little farther. So I've got like 14 yards in my backyard. And, I know where I'm shooting on my dial, so I can hit bang on. And I just kept consistently hitting like half an inch to 3/4 of an inch high. And I just I didn't pay any attention to it at first because I've been messing around with like my stabilizers, different positions, my let
Yeah.
off. So I didn't think anything of it. But now I've actually shot it enough days in a row. It's like, nope, there's something going on here. Like, why is it still? It shouldn't still be high. And the freaking, like, I've got a Spot Hog triple stack. So my top pin, it has a set screw on the side that you loosen off like a quarter turn. And then there's another screw on the bottom, and that's your elevation. So you can bring it up or down with that. So what happened is somehow my set screw backed all the way out. So from shooting,
Have you ever adjusted that one?
just when I set it up and like I tweak it every year, I set it up. I double check it and everything for if I gotta check something. Like it, sometimes every year it gets tweaked a tiny bit. So obviously I didn't cinch down on it enough, but it's such a small set screw that you don't want to. I wouldn't want to crank on it because I'd hate to strip something on the inside there. But it backed out; it was gone, and I was like, "Fuck!" And I just through shooting over however long here, it's crept down. So then I'm shooting a little bit high. So now
Well,
today,
it's going to be loose in there too.
yeah. So and that would have been some of the inconsistencies I was seeing. But yet most of my shots were still, like I say, about 3/4 inch high, and at 14 yards, that's a lot. So I was like, well, shit, I'm gonna have to order something from Spot Hog. But I just went on to a couple archery forums and got the size of the set screw, and I went down to Napa this morning, and I was like, bring all your shit out. So they brought me out a big tray, and I found the one that I needed, except what was listed. It works, but it's a tiny bit long compared to the others. So I'm good right now, but I may go get a shorter one just so that they fit exact, like so that they're flush on the pin
Oh, I see.
housing
It's
there.
sitting out a bit.
It's sitting out a bit, but it's the right size. It sits in there and it feels correct. Like when you're tightening it up and everything, it feels exactly like the others. So I got it close, but I'm going to have to double check it in the next couple days because if that 20 is out a tiny bit, it's going to screw everything else up for my sight tape and everything. So I'm just going to work on that. And honestly, I'm probably only going to have to worry about 20 to 50. I can't imagine them having a ton of room indoors to shoot even for the 3D target. So it's like, but I'll double check it at 60 just because that'll match up my sight tape and everything. I'll make sure everything's still kosher there. But we'll see. Should be fun. But then I'm going to have to mess around with the lighting thing again. So I think Cranbrook has another indoor. They shoot indoors like every Thursday there. And that's where I went for the regionals last year, was in their thing. And that's when I found out, oh shit, this lighting thing's a big problem with peep size and stuff. So
yeah, well, you're running a 1/4 inch, which is big.
Yeah. And I've got those inserts.
Yeah.
So I think I got it down to shooting in my basement here. I changed that. The Spot Hogs come with the 3 rings that you can screw on. So I went to the smallest ring there. And then I think I got it separated here. I think it's the 1/8 I'm down to, because I've got like a True Glow Versa Peep. So I can just slide these little rubber inserts in to change the size of that.
Do you have any ability to move your sight out a little bit?
No, I don't think I do. I don't think so. I think it's stuck where it is. I don't even have it down here with me right now. It's upstairs.
Well, I know you have
It's
Fixed
just
mount.
it's mounted on the side, but I don't think I can. It can't push out any farther. It is where
It'll
it
give you a
is.
little more, like, the further out the sight is away, the more, the more accurate it's going to be.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think I'm stuck where it
but
is, but
less you'll get on the further distances, if that's what, like, that's kind of a,
yeah,
if you want to shoot long distances, it's better to have the sight pushed all the way to the
yeah,
riser.
yeah. So looking at this, I'm either at the 1/8 size peep now or the 5/32. It might be the 5/32 I'm at that I found as my happy spot. I'm gonna have to go down to Cranbrook before the Lethbridge shoot and just mess around there because that can deal with the lighting like in a proper 20, 18-meter range, and then see what the lighting's really like, and then I'll be set for when I walk into Lethbridge, and I'll still bring all my little peep rubbers there, but cross my fingers and hope that I got it figured out. But it'll be fun. Be a good time. Good way to start the year off.
Well, hopefully you win.
Well, hopefully I just don't suck real bad. That's all I care about.
That's always the objective.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, yeah, first one of the year.
It's a 3D?
It's both. So the Ironman, actually, I think you can isolate. I think they got different categories. So I'm doing
You explained this to me before too, but it was quite a while ago.
So one day they do, it's either one day or they have it split. I can't remember how the format is. You'll do like the Vegas paper.
Yep.
Basically. And then in the afternoon.
So like a 30 or 60? So you shooting 60 arrows or 30?
I'm not sure. I didn't care. I just signed up. I'll have to look at it. They sent me an email confirmation back, but it'll be that. And then in the afternoon, let's say it'll be the 3D targets indoors.
Yeah.
And then the next day,
20 targets?
it'll be the opposite. I assumed it was 20.
Yeah, most likely for indoor, you'd think.
Yeah. So, and then you switch. So first
what
day
kind
I
of
chose
scoring
to
is on the 3D?
It was ASA.
Oh yeah.
Is what I remember reading. So it'll have the 12 ring and all that
12
kind of
ring,
stuff.
12, 10, 12, 8, and 5. The big one.
Yeah, it's ASA. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
3D shoot off on Saturday evening, and then shoot off traditionals, and then target format Vegas, and it's 3D format, ASA
Vegas.
rules, known distances, and speed cap in effect.
Okay, so you're doing the Vegas.
Yeah.
Base. Gotcha. Are you going in it, Derek?
I am not. They invited
It's in
every year to
Lethbridge?
go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, dude, it's right there.
I know. It's unfortunately my wife and I have the same birthday, and it's that weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every year it's the same thing.
Every year it never changes, hey?
Yeah, same birthday.
Crazy.
Can't ever forget. Can't get in shit either. It's my birthday too.
I forget my own birthday all the time.
Happy birthday, hun. We're going to a 3D shoot.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got you a new bow.
Yeah.
You be my spotter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
that
kidding.
sucks. That's too bad.
I'll be around though. Should link up for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely try to. I know I'm going to be staying with my daughter down there. But yeah, I won't have seen. She's not coming here for Christmas, so it'll be freaking probably 10 months since I've seen her. So we'll figure something out, whether it works or not. One way or another, I'll be down there a couple times, I'm sure. So we shall see. How about you guys? Any other shoots in the winter? Or is it just work for you, Derek? And
working, but I'm currently working on a rifle build and getting a barrel imported in, and just a bunch of stuff in the works, right? Just picking away at it. I think
Looks like you're doing some reloading or some tinkering behind you there.
Yeah, for sure. Like last night, I tore apart a barreled action and just figuring out what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to bet it and do a trigger change and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah.
Why do you have to do a trigger change?
It's just not a good enough braking trigger. I find like as much as people you can get used to like a military level trigger, like a 4-pound pull, and you can be pretty accurate with that. But we have better technology like Trigger Tack, best triggers as far as I'm concerned. Them and Timney Elites and Jewels and stuff. But the Trigger Tacks, they're a Canadian company, so I mean, like we can get them. There's no issue, and they always have sales. like on Canada Day. So I'll just end up buying one and replace it, either a Remington primary or I just find that the adjustment range is a lot more consistent. I like all of my rifles to be all the same. That's one thing that
that makes sense.
Yeah, they're all the same. And I don't like super sensitive triggers, like, 12-ounce triggers. PRS guys, they like that, but I don't find that being surprised. And we're talking about this like command shooting and like pull through like your shot process and stuff. With rifles, I don't find like I was a shotgun guy, hey. So I like that's like early in my youth, that's what I was doing. And I found when people are surprised with precision rifle, if you're not shooting all the time, you'll shoot like a 5-shot group. It'll be good, 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 and you'll throw a flyer. Good, good, good. 4 shots will be good, and you'll throw a flyer. So you don't exactly like it's a quote unquote surprise. You're not completely anticipating the shot, but you want some pressure, right? So if you don't have any pressure on that trigger, your brain you can't even close to anticipate the shot. So a surprise almost scares you sometimes, right? So like some guys who have too sensitive of a trigger, if you crank it up, I find like for me it's 2 pounds and 12 ounces for like hunting and field application, not like just bench rest. That's a better adjustment range because then I have to tension up on the trigger and then mentally I can control my exhale, and then that last little bit is just like a little click over, right? I'm hanging out there, and I will like close my eyes and repeat. Like when I start up shooting again, I'll dry fire and I'll just sit there and just okay, I feel it, and I know exactly how much pressure. I just repeat that over and over and over and over, so then I know what that feels like, right? And you can't do that if it's too sensitive or
it just goes off too quick.
Yeah,
That
or
makes
just
sense.
like when they break, like a higher end trigger will break more consistently. Sometimes you'll have some that'll be like 3 pounds, and then this time it was 2 pounds, and then it was 3.5 pounds and 3 pounds, and it's just not consistent, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So I'm gonna change that out and probably put a new barrel on it and embed it too. So yeah, I got quite a bit of work. I got to mill out. The barrels has a bigger contour on the shank, so I got to mill out the whole stock.
So do you do that or you send it away?
Yeah, I'll do the milling. I'll do some of the preliminary. You just put in like press it down, like put in a vise, and then just start milling it with like you can do it a couple different ways. Like there's some real rickety ways. You can get like dowels and stuff like that, and you can sand it out manually, but that would take forever. No, you put it in a mill, and you just have a big chuck end bit, and you just do repeated passes, just making sure that your radius is the same, right? And then then you bed it in after. But yeah. Yeah, so it's free floated, and then you'd mill out some portions of like where the action's contacting the stock, and there's pillars in this one. So some of them will have like little cylinders embedded into the action. Those are called pillars, and you would either drill them out and put your own pillars, and you would epoxy them in. And
what's the advantage of doing that?
It's more secure. It's more solid on the action.
Okay.
It's just more like because if you didn't have a pillar, you're just using the stock. So as it's shooting, it's like you can do that, but it's not as accurate, right? Like it's not going to hold. And two, you think about it, it's like putting in a spacer, so that distance stays the same, and it's tensioned and it has perfect contact. And then what you do is you just again you mill out some of the recessed area around the recoil and action, and then that's what you skim bed, and that's what you put a little epoxy, like marine epoxy or bedding compound, and you put it in there, and then that's what gives that perfect contour, because all you're looking for is 100% contact, right?
So if you don't, on some guns, you know how some guns when you load a bullet and you bolt it,
yeah,
and there's a little bit of play in there. Does that, like, if you get like air gapping and stuff in there, does that affect consistency or
it depends, like like if if it's moving in the stock, like obviously, like that's really bad, right?
Like,
If you're talking like the bolt lift, that bolt
no, like, yeah,
lift,
like how, when you push the bolt in and it pushes against the bullet, it's really tight. If it's not as tight, does that affect
yeah, yeah, it
accuracy?
does. Yeah, it does
Yeah.
because it would allow, say, because right, we're talking about this all the time, like how concentric something is, like how square the case is sitting to the bolt face,
Yeah.
um, and then how securely square it is to the threads on the barrel and the chamber. All those things have to be straight and square, and it keeps repeating that all the way back. Um, if the bolt face is able to, like, it has a lot of, that's why like that's a really big problem. That's why if you don't lubricate the back of your lugs on your bolt and you gall that up, then now you're causing, like, it's almost like it's swaging it, right? So you'll start getting, like, if it gets worn, that's it is what it is. But if it starts like distorting the back end of the lugs, it'll start to like create an inconsistent pressure, inconsistent like concentric, like it won't be like square anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's gonna caulk off the side. It's like it'd still probably shoot pretty good. It's just it's not when you extract your case, that case will now be torqued. So now
Oh,
your case
yeah.
is starting to exacerbate problems in the case because you've put under a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah,
So
I was
like
just
if there's
wondering
a
if
little
there's
bit of
like
movement,
if if compression, like, because if it doesn't have as much compression or there's losing compression in some areas, if that's going to have effect on.
it's a fine line, right? Like when they blueprint an action. So say if you have like a factory action and they blueprint it, they're squaring up the like sometimes they'll just do like a little, like if it's just minor, they'll put lapping compound and it's just an abrasive like paste, and they'll work the bolt back and forth and it'll wear itself square if they've already cut the front of the face nice and square. That's kind of rickety way of doing it. A lot of the time they'll put a cutter in there and they'll square it to the bolt, to the face, to the threads, everything's squared. But like what you're saying though, if it's loose, there's a fine line, right? Lots of the Arctic warfare, like really high end, like AICS, like Accuracy International rifles, they're made for adverse conditions, in three lug style bolts. They are like interlocking, and as you're torquing over the bolt, it's engaging and it loads up and it gets tighter in there. A lot of actions are like that. Like, so like one of my actions, it's like that. It's fairly loose until that last little bit when you're pushing it forward and loading it forward, and it starts getting really tight because you want it to be nice and tight and square.
Interesting.
Yeah. You can have like a floating bolt face too. That's in some like the Luger actions, like or like the Mausers and stuff like that. Like I think it's a Mausenfield is like that. That's a custom action that it floats, but you don't like, I don't see them too many in Canada.
Right.
Yeah, it's mostly same old actions, defiances actions mostly, and that's just you just spin up a barrel and go with it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
what
I
I'll
was
be
wondering
doing
about
over the
that.
winter.
Well, how about
Yeah.
yourself, Kevin? Sounds like Corey's busy.
Try to be.
Sure.
Still a bow. It's still interesting.
Yeah.
Just got to keep shooting, but
That's awesome, though.
yeah.
What do you got going on? Your bow showed up yet? Your new
Yeah,
one?
it did.
Mr. Target Man now.
Well, a little bit of an issue. Showed up today, actually. It showed up yesterday, but I got it today. So for some reason, I'm always a 28.5 on my hunting bow, like I was just saying, and then I usually run like a 29 when I'm running. Like when I'm shooting lots in the front yard, or like on the off season, I'll move it up to 29, or if I have two bows, I'll have one at 29, one at 28.5. With these freaking Bowtechs, I'm at a 30-inch draw length.
That's good, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if you put it in the drawboard and you measure it, it's still 20, like it's 28, it's all just under 29 inches. So the 30 inches, it's just like it's 29 and 15 or 28 and 15 sixteenths, right? So it's basically 29. But so on these Gen 2s, they have two types of cams. So when I was looking at these bows, I got the Gen 2 in the 25.5 to the 29.5 inch cam because I wanted to be at the top end of the cam, right?
Yeah.
Then I started shooting that Core SS. When I first got it, I put it at 28.5 just for shits and giggles, right? To see where it was.
Yeah.
And it was way too short. Put it at 29, still too short. 29.5 is still too. And then I put it at 30 and I was like, okay, well, this is better. The issue is now is that the reckoning with the medium cam is about half an inch too short on the draw length.
Shit. So you have to order new cams then?
Well, I need a different. I mean, to order new cams, then you got to get all new strings and stuff. So, yeah, it's kind of a bummer. And I put it at 29. I maxed it out, but it's still a little too short. It's about, I'd say half an inch. I'd say about a quarter to half an inch too short. I would say leaning towards the half inch. Yeah, it could even probably be because it's a 36-inch axle. Axle could probably even be a little bit longer.
What's your string angle like?
Well, it's a 36-inch axle bow, so it's going to be steep.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's not even really gonna. You can't even really manipulate like your D loop length or anything.
The shorter the axle, the more. Yeah. Is that acute the triangle is going to be?
Yeah, be more up. Yeah, be more upright. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just that angle. It's acute and obtuse. Is that the correct term for that? But anyway, so the longer the axle, the steeper the string angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So even playing with your D loop's not gonna help you out there at all because
I need a 3/4 inch D.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's too much.
Just put a big silver clip on the end there.
It's just one of those things. It's weird, yeah. Just on those bows. I mean, I'll have to look into it. I just got it today, and I put that Freak Show on it. Put a D loop on it right away. Well, I kind of had a suspicion once I started shooting that, and then I kind of realized I was like, well, those medium cams on that Gen 2 only go to 29.5. Because with those medium cams, like I said, I want to be at the top end of the cam to get the most speed out of it.
Yeah, you get a definite speed boost.
Yeah. So but the problem is now it's too short.
That's crazy.
So with the other cams, where do they start at? Or are they starting at 29.5? Or do they overlap a little bit?
Oh, I don't remember. This was quite a while ago. Like, fuck, it was stuck in the mail, like stuck in Canada Post for a while, for over a month. I'd have to look at it, but I mean, like I could back. I have to check the poundage of the bow too. I mean, I could back the cables off a little bit. I could loosen the limb bolts.
You're compromising though.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna lose aero speed, but I mean, like if I'm only shooting it for an 18 meter, not super worried about aero speed, right? Like you might maximizing aero speed
might be
for indoor.
More affected if you're like doing some outdoor.
Yeah, if you're doing outdoor,
50 yards or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, so I'm gonna have to look at getting the long cam. But I mean, just for now, for the interim, these are things that I could do just to be able to shoot it.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'll have to check. I haven't put it in the drawboard and measured it properly yet and stuff. So I'll check the poundage of it. I'll check it in the drawboard. I'll measure the draw length. So maybe it's got aftermarket strings on it, so maybe the strings are just over torqued. I mean, I could maybe take 2 turns out of them and see where it gets me. See what kind of draw length I add to it. So I mean, it's close, right? But definitely the only shitty thing is it's nice to be at the top end of a cam for sure, and I'm just like, it's so close.
Yeah,
I would say half an inch.
I can't remember. Do you have a chronograph?
Yeah,
just be interesting to see if you do start backing cables off, stuff like that. Like just see where it's at.
Well, I
for
mean, you're going
speed
to
and
lose
then
poundage, right? So you're going to lose speed. So you could basically figure it out. I mean, I got different types of chronos, but the more you back your cables off, you're going to lose arrow speed. So, and it's different on every bow. Like on a PSC, if you give it one twist, you're going to get a lot more. It's going to react a lot more than on like these Bowtechs. You really got to twist them. Like to gain a quarter of an inch, you got to give it like 4 twists.
Holy shit.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a lot. I noticed it was a lot on those. So, but I mean, that's just how the cams are designed and how the string wraps around the cam, and like, you know,
what arrows did you decide to go with to run with that bow?
I haven't. I was waiting to get the bow first.
Okay.
But I'm going to shoot like a 23.
Yeah.
Probably just Victory 23. Probably right around the 400. Depending on what length I go with. You know, it's either going to be, it all depends on the weight I'm going to go with and the length of the arrow. So I'm going to run a pretty tight arrow. So
going to go with 3 fletch to keep the weight down?
Yeah, definitely 3 fletched. Yeah. I mean, small vanes. You're indoor, right?
Yeah.
So you're not really looking for any extra steering, right? I mean, obviously you want a bit of steering. I mean, you don't want to be shooting bare shaft, but I mean, you don't have to worry about wind, elevation, or, anything like that. It's just 18 meters. Close distance too. So like, speed's not going to really be super effective at 18 meters.
Yeah. Interesting, Pete. It'll be good to see where you're going with that. And then how about Wyatt? He's just picking it up there, the indoor stuff. I know you guys have been out hunting a bit, but
yeah, he shot a 297, so he's pretty pumped about
smokes.
that. So he's 3 points off a perfect score.
Well, that's pretty damn good. Holy shit.
Unreal.
Yeah. So
how's his consistency other than that?
He starts out sloppy and then he gets better as he goes. So he's got to work on like composure at the beginning, because like the beginning he'll shoot, like when he shot the last one, he shot 297. In the first 3 ends he shot 3 9s.
Gotcha.
And like that was it right there, right? And then the rest were 10 and 10 X's. I don't remember how many X's he hit. I mean, obviously a clean 300 is going to be the best ever, or it's going to be the best you can get. But I mean, still I mean, you just turned 13, so obviously the goal is 300. You want to get to 300 first, and then worry about how many X's you're
get
hitting.
That consistency. Well, just the mental things and easy. Well, I shouldn't say easy enough, but you know what I mean. If his form's nice and consistent, all that kind of stuff, the mental stuff will come. So
that, and he'll get stronger. Like I know, oddly enough, one of the provincial youth champions worked for me for a couple weeks there, and I work with his dad, Burke. And he said it was just that strength was the problem. He's just like, you're a little shaky. You're always shooting bigger bows than you probably should. Stuff is kind of wonky.
Well, like, and we turned his bow down.
Yeah,
because the thing is, like, in order to be truly consistent and to get to the point, like, to be a competitor, you have to shoot a lot of arrows, right? And you have to work on all those little things. You can't be having any shoulder issues or any shoulder pain.
No.
So you're better off shooting a low poundage and just working on everything, working on all your shot processes, like working on everything, and just keep putting arrows down range than worrying about shooting 60 pounds and only being able to shoot 50 arrows, right? You want to be able to shoot 200 plus arrows and still be able to shoot them 200 tomorrow, right? Because if you shoot 200 great arrows a day, that's what's going to build separation, right?
Yeah. How about Bree? She's still doing it lots?
Yeah, I mean, well, she does it once a week. That's all she ever did.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
She's good. She just keeps winning. Like every tournament we go to, she wins. So she's like, I need to practice. I'm like, well, one day you're going to find somebody that's a little more competitive than the people you're competing against. But she's right into volleyball. But I'm, I don't know, fuck, man. Like
Yeah,
10 years
whatever.
old, it's tough.
They're
to-
having fun. That's awesome. I just think it's amazing that they're having fun like that and they like it that much. It's good.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. I mean, the clubs, Kelowna Club is, I don't know, like they're doesn't sound like they're super supportive of archery, but I know Dave Campbell, he's taken over as a 3D coordinator for that club. So hopefully they're going to get a lot more 3D stuff, try to get more bow hunters involved. And I think that's where, for these clubs, especially with all these new gun laws coming in, like I think you have to be turning towards archery because like you look at all these events, like these TAC events down in the States and stuff, and like they're just gaining so much traction. They're shutting attendance down at like 4,000. They're like, no, we can't take anymore. Like that's it.
Insane.
We're done. Yeah. 4,000 people, that's it. We have to shut it down. And they're getting that before like a few days into the registration. So, it just goes to show you how popular, like, so I was looking this up because I went to a meeting to talk to these guys and, there's over 17,000 archers in the US. Sorry, 17 million archers in the US.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like recreational, professional, bow hunters, all that stuff. That's an estimated 17 million. That's half the population of Canada.
Yeah.
Are involved in archery, right? So, and in Canada, I mean, like you look at like there's no like handguns are going to be all the guys that have handguns are old, and all the guys that like doing that stuff, they're older.
Yeah.
So, once that is out, then what are you going to have? Like,
Well, and that's one thing with our club that I've noticed. It's through the archery fishing pellet gun, but most of our new recruits for the families are because I've got the kids shooting bows and stuff at like our range day and a couple, the 3D shooting a couple other, our Wednesdays and Sunday nights and stuff. And yeah, once those kids get in there, they just keep coming back. Like they love
at
it.
your club, do you guys have the ability to do an indoor? No way. You don't have a building.
Unfortunately,
that'd be nice if you
don't.
did.
Oh man,
Because like that, like here they have the JOP program for the youngsters, and like that's a great program, right? The junior archers program. So plus then it'd give you the ability to shoot too. You could run the line.
I'd be perfectly honest. You know what? I'd tell everybody, be honest, like this is for everybody, but I'm doing this a lot for me. So don't worry, I'm going to be there. I honestly don't even know any buildings around to approach for anything like that. Like just and to have that kind of room, I guess is the other thing.
Yeah, to have it open and have good enough lighting.
Well, that's the other thing. Just because you got it doesn't mean that it's usable.
Yeah, it's adequate. Well, I mean, and it's got to be heated. It's heated, right? It's got to you got to have lighting.
Yeah, we'll see. Who knows? Maybe something will pop up somewhere along the lines, and I'd love it. But there again, it's like I have to drive an hour and a half to Cranbrook one way, in the shit weather down here that we get. So,
do you know what's a crazy stat? Before all these bans, if you were to ask, like, what's the most involved sport of Canada, what would you think it is?
I'd say hockey. He's the first thing that came to
not even close. It's three gun in Ipsic. Yeah.
Really?
Like 3 million people.
Wow.
Yeah, and hockey.
And what's it now?
I don't. It's
Who
dead,
knows?
man. It's like dead. The last round of bans was all the workarounds of the last ban. So you're just hemorrhaging people's pocketbooks. That's all it is. You're not making anything safer. These are like a lot of these comp guns are like they're not the
Well, the whole
cause
thing
of
is
our
fucking
problems.
ridiculous.
It's
There's
has
still people
nothing
getting
to do-
shot.
Oh, and it's not even like I don't know how much they spend. I think it's like 20, 40, 50. I don't even know how many tens of millions of dollars. And it's not an effective anything. But yeah, there's a lot of people that were shooting 3-gun. Pretty lively population with that. Same thing with the handgun IPSC. That's a pretty active sport. So yeah, you probably will see a lot more archery involvement. That's why I started archery. Writing was on the wall, like to not keep getting invested in firearms. It's like you got to get ahead of the curve. Like archery is going to be around the longest of anything. Like
It's been around. Yeah, and that's the thing. It'll always be around, right? Like it's an Olympic sport. It's always going to be around. They're not going to take it away.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that's a perfect Christmas gift for your spouse or yourself, right? Is a new bow to get it. Is that what I'm hearing, guys?
Yeah.
I wonder if
Yeah.
my wife can hear me from here.
I hope mine can't.
I tried
I
that.
hope mine can't.
Yeah, I tried getting mine once. She didn't like it. She hit her arm a few too many times. Hit her.
Oh yeah.
That was that.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, no, it's a
You know what the
unique
other
thing. You have to be dedicated, that's for sure.
the other tough thing that clubs are having a really hard time with for archery is finding bloody targets, 3D targets. Just because of the cost
Really?
of them and where to get them from. Well, you want quality ones too. I mean, because if they're getting shot out in one season, that's not doing your club any favor. Like you need a few seasons out of them.
Yeah.
And we're having to get them from the States. We were crossing our fingers with it's called Kong targets. It's outside Cochrane somewhere. And supposed to be incredible targets. They get them from the States. But in this last year or so, we were going to check out some of their stuff, and he's just like, the cost of getting that stuff, those targets across the border now, it's not worth it for them. They're like, nobody's going to buy them at these prices.
Well, can't you just go down and get them? Can't you just drive down and get them? Like, can't you go talk to like Josh and be like, hey man, we need a whole bunch of targets. Can you hook us up? And like, I'm sure he can figure something out.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not sure how that works because a lot of
and
times
then just
we'll
take a trailer down and drive. And like, they're for the club, like they're for a nonprofit organization. So you're gonna be able, like, you should get a little bit of leeway when you're coming across the border.
Yeah, we might have to look into that. We do go through like our guy in Jaffrey, who I've talked about, like our archery guy. Sometimes a lot of the clubs will go in with him because he's got the business, and then he goes down with the trailer, orders them, brings them back up.
I know we were talking to Derek from Grizzly Targets about getting new targets for the youngsters.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just going to go and pick them up. I mean, obviously those are field targets. They're not 3D, but yeah, he had no problem doing that. But
yeah, if I had to get field targets and stuff, yeah, there's definitely local places that, I prefer to support as local as possible. So to speak.
It's tough in Canada because obviously there's not enough. And that's the thing is, like, in the States, there's half the population of Canada shoots bow in the States, right? Yeah. So there's a lot more to choose from, right? Like in Canada.
And sustain them and sustain these companies so they can grow. They can start researching better ways, better materials, more durability, right? Like
I think
our
even
range
standard...
just I think they bought like 40 grand worth of targets this past year in grants,
with grants.
Yeah, they get grants, municipal grants, and companies will kick in.
Are you part of that club, Derek?
Yep. Yeah, Lethbridge Fish and Game. Yeah, it's and the Alberta.
Oh, that's where you're shooting outside.
Yeah, there. Yeah, okay, sheltered in there. It's a good range. Like there's the Saba.
Do they have an indoor?
No, it's all outdoor. All outdoor. Same with the Saba, but we have the bow benders as well. That's where the Ironman will be held. Okay. So there's some definite options, right? There used to be, COVID kind of wiped out everybody.
Yeah, but it's coming back. I mean,
it is, but some like permanently closed their doors, right?
It was tough.
Lane archery too,
Everything's tough, man. Fucking these small businesses got hammered by the stupid Canada Post strike. Like,
ridiculous. Yeah, it's
like I was telling Pete, like one of my neighbors has a small business, and like pretty much half of her revenue comes in 1 month of December.
In Christmas.
And she had a lot of it is online sales, and it was gone this year. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, it sucks.
Anyway, I've been kicking over this fucking bow press of Pete's for over a month.
Yeah, it takes up all that room there. And
it does, man.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to taking it off your hands there. We got everything else down here. It's just... And I can't even build my bench until I get it because I got to figure out what height I want it at.
I painted it a cool new color for you too.
Did you paint it?
Might have a few dicks drawn on it.
Ah, whatever.
Nice pink, nice masculine
this big,
pink.
And I'll just make a post. Kevin was tracing again. I just probably leave them on there. Yeah, no, it'll be nice to get into the tinkering stage and start going down those rabbit holes, but
You just
I'm looking
have a
forward to
bow that you shoot and have a bow that you fuck with, because if you start fucking around with the bow that you shoot, dude, you're not going to do a lot of shooting. Trust me, I've been down that road.
Yeah, one of the things I'm going to be doing is like that Matthews I got from my father-in-law. I'll be sending it. I'll take the strings off it and the cables and send it out to you guys.
What is for the hunter class, what's the longest axle to axle you can have? Is there a limit on that for those bows?
Don't remember seeing that. I just remember poundage, stabilizer lengths, there's some stuff with sights. No, I think they opened up that for sliding sights. I don't remember axle to axle. I don't know if there is.
Yeah, I was just curious. Yeah, stabilizers, 12 inches.
12 inches. So
back bar, 12?
12 inches, all the same measurements.
12 inches off the back of the riser or the front of the riser?
Just where it connects to the bow is, I think, how.
Well, that's a big difference, because if you connect it where you put your front stabilizer, you can run a 15.
Yep.
No restriction on length on rear stabilizer.
Did you look that up already?
Yeah. Yeah, and then a 12 inch on length permitted, and then no magnification in sight, no pin limit, movable sight permitted for the hunter class.
What about in peep sight?
You can't have lenses.
No, yeah.
No lenses in.
No lenses, period.
No magnification in sight.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember at provincials I was asking the judges there about clarifiers and verifiers, and they double checked on me, and they're just like nothing.
Have to run a really small peep
outside.
If I was to do to go in the hunter, I'd have to run a real small peep sight and run my sight way off the end of my riser. Because the tighter your peep sight is, the more it's like squinting, right? The clearer it's going to get. So that's the issue I have, is like, for hunting, it's fine, right? I'm not trying to hit a X. I'm not trying to hit a 10 ring. I'm just trying to kill the animal, right?
Yeah, for precision, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it makes a big difference if you're trying to hit a tack, then,
Yeah, I was a little disappointed when I found out I can't change it doesn't benefit me to change my top pin on my triple stack to a 1000th pin.
Dude, I could have swore that you and I talked about this before.
No, I don't think so. Because I know a lot of people, I've seen videos and people will put them on like their bottom pin, but the shaft is the same. So, or if you have your pin on the bottom anyway, the shaft is so thick on the 19,000.
Well, with those spot hogs anyway, they're not like the blade of the pin blade is big, right? And that's the problem with me, is because there's you don't have the ability to tilt your scope. I always get glare off the top. I get the glare off the top of that pin, which drives me freaking bonkers.
Yeah, for me, I just wanted that dot being super small, but I don't want to be looking at the shaft, because the shaft is going to be blocking part of the 10 ring.
Yeah, well, you could put an ultra view on there.
I got to
spend $300 and put an ultra view.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
All that overtime money you make.
Overtime
plowing driveways and
yeah, I don't make money off that. I cashed in for the first time ever to get that bow press and stuff. Otherwise, I like my time. I'd rather spend time out in the bush than having new equipment.
That's what I did. I put an ultra view on the spot hog, and it worked.
Right on. Well,
the only shitty thing I don't like about the ultra view is it doesn't have a ring on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't have like the spot. It doesn't have a scope ring. So it's
just has the insert, right?
It has. There's a tiny little ring on the inside, but like when you're hunting, it's not great. Like, because you're moving around. It's just.
What color is it? It's white.
It's white, but you could barely see it, dude.
I don't
like you could barely see that. I think the new ones, they changed it.
They're like an insert, hey?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know. Like, I like, it's a good idea, but it's also like, as soon as I see that shit, I'm like, I think like that's breaking.
Yeah.
When stuff goes in and out like that, I don't just.
Well, you don't really see it enough. That's the problem because
Yeah.
it sits inside.
The
It sits
housing.
inside of the scope. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
inside
the scope
the
housing.
housing.
So then you have a dark ring, and then you have this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and then if
yeah.
you're hunting with like, I found even though like even just shooting, when you're shooting though, you can find the outside of the scope in your peep still. But
I like it right
I don't know.
there, though.
I like just having the ring there. I like the ability
Yeah.
to have a ring.
Yeah, there's no second guessing it or anything. It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll look at other stuff because I know once I get that Matthews set up for hunt, that's probably going to be my.
What's that
hunting
name of
bow.
that Matthews you got? Did you figure it out?
Switchback XT, one of the smoothest single cams out there from everything I've read. Nobody wants to give theirs up, and it's
Oh, that's
smooth.
a single cam bow?
Yeah. So I know that sight on there. Eventually, I'm going to have to upgrade because it doesn't have a third axis adjustment on it. So at that point, who knows? I might throw my spot hog on there, and if my Hoyt becomes my target 3D bow, I'll look at what I can do there to get a smaller pin and stuff.
You're gonna have to go to a different site.
Yeah, that's
maybe
what I mean.
like a red line or a
I'll figure
gold,
that out in the time.
black gold.
Have
you ever shot a
black gold?
No, I mean, have you ever shot a single cam bow?
This one. I mean, it's not
you have
set up
shot
for
it?
me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I shot it a couple times, but that's when I was just like, everything's wrong with it. I got to readjust the D loop, everything. Like I got to tear it apart, and it's set at really light too because my father-in-law had it, so I got to max it out and everything. And
What's your Hoyt? Did they have binary cams on that, or are they like a hybrid?
no, binary.
Okay. What model is that one?
HBX Pro.
Oh, okay.
I remember right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this other one's it's going to be super smooth, but it needs a new string, new cables.
Well, yeah. The nice thing about like a binary cam system is you don't have it's way easier getting strings and cables.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to shoot a solo cam.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Matthews solo cam back in the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah. Similar.
Yeah. Just.
Well, I'm hoping I can send it over to Hardcore there and you can make me up.
Oh,
one.
yeah. You can definitely get them made. But
when
like
I get
they're
the
just
press, I'm just going to take it off and basically ship the strings and cables and being like, these, please. And whatever info I can pull off the bow for him if you need certain things.
Well, that's kind of the shitty thing about the way that Chuck does it is like you don't get the original specs of the bow, and a lot of stuff, depending how old they are, you do get string stretch and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll figure it out one way or another because, I got to start fresh with it and then go from there.
Yeah, you got really long strings and cables on, like the control cable. Is it the control cable on that? That's super long on that bow?
I can't remember. I've only pulled it out a few times.
Yeah.
Sitting in a case right now.
I haven't seen one in a long time, but
it's nice though. I like it.
Well, it's going to be.
Do your tinkering on that one.
You get away, because of it's a single cam, right? You're getting away, and the smaller cam, you're getting away from that. I mean, it's going to hold really nice, but it's going to hold firm, right? It's like a small cam, like a target bow, like we were talking before, right?
Yeah.
Having less let off.
Yeah, like it'd be interesting.
Firmer in the back wall, you're going to have more stability.
It's going to be a lot slower too. I know that.
Yeah.
A lot slower.
Well, if you're using it, what are you going to use it for? Like if you're just using that for target, or I don't know.
I haven't honestly decided what I'm going to. It's for now. It's just going to be my spare bow in case something happens to my Hoyt, so I can pull it out. I know it's like, okay, I can go hunting with this. That's the ultimate thing. If I miss a 3D shoot, shitty, but oh well. If I miss time out in the bush hunting, that's an issue. So we'll see. I'll start it with one, but I mean, honestly, the way that you had tuned up my bow last year when I first got it, I didn't need to do anything with it. I mean, it was just shooting bullets. Like I didn't have to touch anything.
Well, I mean, you should be doing that every month.
Well, yeah. And that's the nice thing about, that's the shitty thing about not having anybody anywhere around me to do that. And going into some of these bigger shoots now, I'm going to go in with confidence because I'm going to know exactly what's going on.
Well, you also know what's going on with your bow once you start putting it together.
Putting it together and then shooting it through paper periodically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see things moving, shifting. They start. That's why I like too. Like I count, like kind of what Kevin's doing, counting how many reps I'm putting.
Yeah.
I think that's important too. Just having some sort of note down, like, hey, this happened. I'm noticing the groups, my average group size, like tracking your training. Like my average group size was this big. I'm starting to see things. I'm starting to hit low. This is what the conditions were. Because otherwise you'll drive yourself crazy and then shoot through paper. You might have a tuning problem, right? And you can just deal with it. That was the thing with that new Matthews. My buddy Nick had that thing like paper tuned bare shaft, and then he borrowed my jig to throw some arrows together on a quick build, and he had that thing tuned and like lickety shit. It was pretty impressive shooting a bull hold right away.
Yeah, well, because you have the ability, it's just quicker.
Yeah,
right?
it's just quicker.
You don't have to change top hats. So that's part of the fucking problem with the Matthews is you have to put it in the press, pull the axle out, and change the top hats, and it was a pain in the ass. But I mean, it was no different than like how you used to have to do it. I mean, you used to have to put shims in.
Yeah.
And like to change strings properly, you have to do it like to the absolute. Like the best way to change your strings is change one string at a time. Change your string, check your timing, make your twists. Sorry, change one cable, check your timing, check your poundage, change the other cable, check your timing, check your poundage, right? And then check your string. Check your string length. Because what happens is if you just take all your strings and cables off and then you go put them back on, that it's going to be different than it was how you took them off. Because the more twists you have in a string, the more twists you have in a cable is going to affect the length of it.
And then as you lose poundage, it's going to change too, right?
Yeah. But if you change one string at it, so you change one cable, put it on the drawboard, check your timing. It's good. Quickly check your poundage. Okay. I'm at the same poundage I was that I want to be. Put it back in there. You do the exact same thing with your other cable, right? Then put it in the drawboard, check your timing, check your poundage. Everything's still good. Now you put your string on and make sure your string is the same length. If you put your string on and all of a sudden it's super tight and like you have a, now where your string stop is, you used to have a 1/16 of an inch and now you got a 1/4 of an inch. Well, there's too many twists in that string, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's going to have effect on everything as well. So to do it really properly. Okay, anyway, the whole point of me telling you this was back in the day to change, like to shim a cam, you had to take everything off and put it on. And like, if you wanted to do it properly, it was a fucking process to go through all that just to find out that you still have to go back and shim it over some more. Mm-hmm. But now with all this new technology, like the Bowtech has and Matthews, man, it's just super simple.
And when you're using that, like on the Bowtech and the Matthews, once you set your center shot on your rest, you're not really moving your rest, right?
Dude, I never move my rest.
Yeah, same. That's something that I was thinking, like, you shouldn't. Yeah. Cause,
like, unless you're torque tuning, right? Unless you want to be more forgiving, unless you want a more overall forgiving bow, and then you can mess with your rest. But then really to torque tune, all you're doing is you're taking your rest
forward and backwards.
That's all you're doing, right? And that's just to give you more forgiving, a more forgiving bow. Yeah. But a lot of that has to do too with the distance between your peep and your scope. So
yeah, because I think I'm pretty sure my rest is probably 30-second off of center shot. I had to do like the smallest adjustment to get laser beams, but that was.
But here's the kind of the kicker is like, is every 13/16 is like, I'm using my finger quotes here, is a generic starting point. It's not perfect center shot. To do perfect center shot, to do a bow perfectly center shot, you have to put an arrow on your rest, and then you have to set up a jig or a pin, something, a sharp point off the center of your bow, which is on most bows now is your stabilizer mount, and then run a string from there off your arrow straight down to line up with. Yeah, those work good too, but that's just setting up 13/16ths, right? That's not setting up true center shot.
You can set it up to whatever you want. So once you find it, you can
Yeah,
get
I
the
know.
measurement.
Yeah,
and
you can
then
get it back.
At least
But
write
then
it
here's
down.
the kicker though. Once you start shimming your cams, your bow's
You're moving it
now
around.
now you're moving it around
Yeah.
again, right?
Yeah.
So now if you could imagine you having like a line directly on the front of your riser and in your string line, and like center shot being perfectly in between those two, once you start moving the back one, it's going to affect the middle one, being that middle one your rest, right? Like, but that's why you tinker. But I mean, at the end of the day, fuck, you still got to shoot arrows. Like, you could do all this stuff. If you're just too busy doing that and you're not shooting arrows, then it ain't gonna make any difference. Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and if you
the
got
best
bad
guys in
form,
the
it
world
doesn't
that shoot a
matter.
bow, they can shoot a bow. Like, it doesn't make any difference. Like, obviously they're at a level where they need 900 with 90 X's just to get into the playoff match, right? Or the shoot off.
Yeah.
But I mean,
And you can have a perfectly tuned machine for them for the average person. But if you have shitty form, you're not going to utilize, that the bow is a machine. You have it set up perfect. But if you have somebody that's got severe hand torque, if you got, you know what I mean? Like just bad form in
well,
general,
if you have hand torque,
it doesn't matter what you
hand
do with
torque
that
is
bow.
hand torque you need to work on right away.
Yeah.
Right. But that's a good thing about shooting through paper, is because paper will tell you if you have a hand torque.
Yeah.
If you go and shoot through paper, even if you're getting a left tear, that's good, right? And
long
you're
as it's
getting a
consistent.
same left tear every
Yeah.
time, then right?
Yeah.
You're not inducing a lot of hand torque. But if all of a sudden you're getting a left tear and a right tear,
Yeah.
well then, buddy, what you need to work on is like, you need to go back and fuck shooting on paper. Just shoot arrows, right?
Yeah.
Work on your grip, work on your form, right? Grip and anchor. Two most important parts of shooting is grip and anchor, right? Those are the points that come in contact with the bow. They have to be solid.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Well,
That's a good point, though, to not get too, again, gadget centric, where you're tinkering and stuff, but you're still putting in the reps. You're still doing meaningful things to make sure that you're getting better each day shooting. Because you'll see the same thing with any sport, anything. You get too obsessed with the equipment, and not the action.
Yeah,
It's like you say,
and
it's
even like
confidence. It's not necessarily helping as much as you think it is. It's
Yeah.
just giving you your best chance.
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of the times too is like, I'm not really, like, this time of the year especially, I don't even really give a crap what's going on downrange. I'm working on everything that's happening before the arrow even leaves my release. And like it's funny, like I wore out that old Carter release. Well, it wasn't that old, so I went to a new one. But like, this new one is a lot different than the old one. They're exact same release, but the other one was just a lot more sensitive than this one is, just because it got used. But one thing I started doing too is I started changing my shot, right? Changing my anchor and how I pull through my shot. Because what I used to do before is I used to hold it like this, and I would slowly let tension off and pull. So I'd be pulling with this finger and letting off with this finger, so it rolls in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem I found is that because the string would bounce off.
Oh, so you're not getting the hand
My
angle
trigger.
that you need to have a clean release.
So what I started doing, what I did with this new one, is I moved the thumb position of this release. So now the release sits higher in my hand. And like, the people listening aren't going to have a freaking clue what I'm talking about, but the people that are watching will. So like, now you see, because what happens as soon as the string goes in this release, and you put tension on it, it's going to fall to the lowest point, right?
Yeah.
Because your hand is pulling up higher than the string is pulling down. It's going to go to that low part of the clasp there. And then when you hit the trigger, what's going to happen if you're like, if the tip of this point, if the tip of the caliper is higher than where it
the
sits,
center line,
yeah, the D loop is going to flick off that.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to flick off that
You're gonna
release.
hit low every time.
And you're going to have inconsistency in knock travel, right?
Yeah.
So I'm working on right now is like, I switched this thumb position to hold this release up more of instead of an angle like this, more of an angle like this. And now what I'm doing is I'm still holding firm in here. And what I'm actually doing is just doing a little, I'm not letting any tension go of my pointer finger. I'm just pulling a little bit with my index finger. And because this thumb is the trigger now is sitting in a different part of my hand, it's a little more firm in the joint of my thumb.
I like that. I'm gonna have to video my release there, just focusing on that, because that's what we were talking about, just different, like your hand position on your anchor. And
your hand position
like
this way.
Instead of
hand,
being
hand
way up
position
like this,
and
then,
angle is like, that's what Levi Morgan said, like, is one of the most critical things he focuses on in the off season is the angle of it.
Yeah.
Everyone focuses on to get it there, but then their angle of their release.
Yeah.
Right. Because you could still be buried in your jaw and anchored in your location. But then if you're torqued down or torqued up,
it changes your angle of your D loop.
Exactly. And if you're not using like, was it Spectra D loop material, you could put a little bit more torque into it.
Well, and it all depends on your D loop too. Like that's why it's good to like, that's why I like a BCY 23 over a 24 is because it's a little smaller diameter. So, you get away. I find you get a little away with a little, and I also do like a little longer, like a 5. I prefer a little bit longer D loop just because it allows more play.
You can get
now.
That
This
twist.
Is obviously gonna, with a hunting bow setup, but with a target bow, there's a lot more tension because you're shooting. Your holding weight is a lot more than for your hunting setup. So you could get away with, a smaller D loop. But no, I don't know if that's going to hold any advantage to you because. But again, like things are changing, right? Like if you're running a longer axle bow, the distance from your peep sight to your eye is going to be closer, right?
Mm-hmm.
That distance is going to be closer, and that's going to affect things as well, right? That's going to affect how you're looking from the peep to the sight.
Yeah, that is something I also messed around with too in the last year or so. Just the barrel position, how it's in my thumb, to make sure that if I can't wrap around it, the barrel, how that's affecting it once I get like in my shot.
Yeah.
If it's
see,
not
like
far
I
enough
always,
back,
I always think like if you're making contact, it's better having a little bit of contact than floating, because when you're floating, I mean, you could be floating here, or you could be floating there, right?
And that's going to change.
You know what I mean? Like obviously, I'm exaggerating this amount of movement, but still, like if it's here, it's going to be a little bit different than here, right? Because now to pull, I have to push. I'm pushing up with this, or if it's here, you can get away with pushing or pulling in this direction.
Yeah, it's like you're dragging across.
Those are going to have inconsistencies in your shot. Not that either one I don't think would make a difference how you're doing it, but if you're doing it different every time, it's going to make a difference in your shot. Same with like you were talking about, the angle of your hand, right? If every time it's a little different, it's going to affect your string angle, and that's going to affect where your peep lines up with your eye.
And the size of your hand too. Like, I mean, honestly, if you've got short fingers or whatever, it's going to be totally different in the way you can wrap it around or the way you palm.
Well,
it.
yeah, and that comes to what release you're shooting, right? Like your release should be based on your hand size, right?
So pay attention to that.
I mean, that's why you shoot a woman's release, Pete.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. You see his little girly one there. It's like 2 fingers big. I got a man one that fits all the way across.
Oh, man. I tried shooting the Wise Guy Carter, the Mini. I can't get my finger in there.
I never liked those.
It doesn't
like the ring.
Yeah,
what do you shoot now? You shoot the knock to it?
Yeah, knock to it. Yeah, I have shot that for years. Yeah,
right.
For like 10 years.
There was one that had the hole in it from Carter that was bigger, because I know what you mean. When I was trying them out, I didn't.
Yeah, they still have that one.
Yeah, but they have a couple different sizes, because Kent from the club there, he runs one, but it's got a much bigger hole because the other one that I had tried in Calgary when I was getting my first one, it's same thing. I couldn't get my finger and was like, well, this is like, that's a
let
no.
let alone if you're wearing gloves, like if you're in the
Yeah.
cold. That was one thing. Like it.
Oh yeah.
Those minis, it's an absolute no go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a convertible, an easy small, just cause, insatiable too, just be. They got a lot of
Yeah.
them. But they used to make that. So the reason I use I use an insatiable 3, but the reason I cut it off is because Carter used to make a 2-finger, and that's what I started shooting for Carter, was the 2-finger.
Yeah.
And they don't make it anymore, so now I have to buy the insatiable, and I take it, I cut it, take it apart, and glue it together, right?
Yeah, because otherwise you get that interference. I find that too. Like people, it's funny because people think that I'm punching because I'm moving my pinky.
Moving these
They
two
don't, they don't, they
fingers,
don't, they don't touch anything.
Yeah.
Right? And that's one thing
floating.
I always focus on in the winter is like, we get sloppy, is making sure that when I have my fingers, they're directly straight in line with my wrist.
Yeah.
That keeps my whole anchor and shot the same, because as soon as you start getting sloppy and you're getting loose on your wrists and your fingers are hooking, I find that that's another inconsistency with like the 2-finger thumb releases.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, what you're describing, Derek, is like that sloppiness in your releases. Like you find it when guys are shooting arrows just to shoot arrows, and they're like, "I'm going to go shoot 100 arrows today," and the first 50 of them are really good, where they're like thinking about their form, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Fuck, I've been here for an hour and a half. Like, do I want to shoot another 50? I said I was going to shoot said I was going to shoot 100, so I'm going to shoot 100." Then they start doing things like that. It gets a little bit quicker. Not that like you could still. If you've done it enough, you could still shoot a lot of arrows quickly and still have meaningful, good arrows, right? You just have to fall into your shot process quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes with shooting more arrows. So
I find I don't go in having a number in my head. I go until I start feeling tired. And it's like, okay, like the shoulders are tired or whatever. And it's like, I'm just going to start developing bad habits now.
Yeah. And leave on a high note.
Yeah.
If you're pissed off, holy, that's where, like, at the start of each season, like right before I really ramp it up, that's where I always found I went wrong, was I would get pissed off, because you get into that mode where you're just trying to get those reps, and you get to the point where you're no longer even shooting well. You're pulling okay, but you're just getting pissed off, and then your confidence is knocked, and then you go back into the next shooting session, and you're already thinking about something negative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to go in.
A good note.
Yeah, you got to go in thinking, probably going to be a little rusty. So, maybe these sessions aren't going to be as long as I anticipate. But yeah, get those consistent ones, something, whether it's your anchor, whether it's your actual release itself, or, like just work on one thing at a time. And then
don't work on too much, definitely. Like if you're going to work on stuff, work on one thing. Like if you all of a sudden realize, like if you came to somebody and shot and they're like, okay, well, you have severe hand torque, you have inconsistencies at your anchor, and you're every time you go to shoot, your feet are in a different position. Okay, well, let's start with one thing. Let's forget everything else. Let's work on every time you come up to draw, your feet are in the exact same position.
Yeah.
Do that over and over and over. Okay, now that we have that, where you're just doing it every time, like every time you go to stand up, you're doing it. Then now let's work on your grip. Right before you even decide to pull that bow back, make sure your hand is in the position it needs to be in before you even pull back. Don't pull back and then try to adjust your hand. That's the worst thing you can do. If you get to full draw and you realize your hand is in the wrong position, just shoot the arrow. Don't try to mess with it. Just shoot it, because you're going to develop a bad habit. Right? Then next time, remember.
That's the one thing I liked about that new Matthews, that lift. That grip is leaps and bounds better than the old one. It has a texture on the bottom of the heel, so then you feel it, like you get that real good traction feedback of where your grip position is. You can feel it. It's almost tactile. It's like bumpy on the bottom, and it gradually gets smoother towards the top.
Yeah, and they have different angles too, which is nice, because I like shooting with my wrist not cocked so far back, and shooting a Matthews, they always had it. I mean, you could always get aftermarket grips for them. But like when I used to shoot, like when I shot like the old RXs, I used to pull the grip off. I didn't even shoot with the grip on it.
Yeah, my Defiant was like that too. Yeah, because
it's too rounded. I found.
No, it was too round. I shot a bull elk, and as I'm drawing, my whole bow was slipping
Yeah.
through on my glove. I'm like, holy shit! It's kind of freaked me out. I could feel the whole bow slipping into my thumb.
Yeah, I always took that
ever
grip
since
off.
then, took it off too.
Yeah.
Yeah, shot off the riser, but you lose a little bit of your draw length when you do that, I found, but yeah, it's just interesting. It's just the new bows are all good. All the flagships are all good.
Yeah, well,
you can't
and
get
like
a bad bow anymore. It's just what works. It's just what works for you.
Whatever
and your
feels the
needs.
best.
Yeah.
The things.
Well, I mean, the thing is now is like you could pick up any bow and you can make it feel good.
Yeah.
Like they're so versatile. Like like
one thing I wanted to ask you. This is on topic, but so say guys that are like we're talking about getting things set up again, going through our stuff. If they do a massive change to weight on their arrow setup, how are you resetting your sight? Because I've seen so many people start messing around with their sights where they're doing a gross adjustment on their dial to move their housing or they're doing pins. What's your approach to resetting the sight so it's optimized so you get the greatest amount of travel? When you do, like, say if you go up to like say you're shooting like a 450 and then you bump up to like a 500 grain arrow, what are you doing to your sight to make sure it's optimized?
Well, like to get the most yardage out of it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in order to get the most yardage out of a sight, so like you're going to have to pull the sight closest to the riser it can go. Right? And like your 20 pin is your 20 pin. So it doesn't matter where you move that sight housing. Like, you know how it has the bolt, you could unscrew it. And a lot of people will lift it up thinking that they're going to get more clearance out of the scope, but you're not, because for you to shoot 20 yards, that pin has to be where it needs to be for you to shoot 20. It doesn't matter where you put the housing. You're just going to have to dial it down more.
Yeah, because then your pins.
So if you want to get more out of it, you're going to have to zero your scope, your sight at like 30 or 40. If you want to get the long yardages, like if you want to shoot 150 yards, move your sight in closest it'll go to the riser, zero that sucker in at like 40 yards. So your top pin is at 40 yards, right? And then that's where you zero it in. And then from there, that way you're going to get those long distances. But then you're going to lose everything else.
I think we were chatting about that, or I put that as a question for one of your guests on the other show there was, where do you like to set your peep sight at? What distance?
I always do 20, right? Like I always do, man. I always zeroed in at 20 because you always need a 20 pin.
Yeah.
Whether you're hunting or shooting for 3D or target, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You always need a 20. But I also like my sight long distance off my riser because I like it to be more accurate. I like my pins to be more accurate, and you're going to get more out of that if it's further away, right?
And you're going to get more feedback of it if you're torquing your bow and you're doing weird
well,
stuff.
It's definitely harder to hold. Anything that's getting further away from your eye, it's going to be harder because it's going to pick up more travel, right? You're going to get more pin travel, whether you're doing like drive-bys or you're getting dips, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it just comes with reps, right? And also learning how to control your shot. Like, it doesn't matter. Like some guys work on really holding that pin, and some people just accept the fact that it's never going to be in the perfect position, and it's all about timing, right? Like, bang,
and the release
right? It hits exactly where you want it to hit, right? You're controlling it, but everybody's different, right? So, that's how you get the most out of it. But like, if you're just going from, you want everything the same, you have to basically start over again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like that's why I'm asking this. Is because
there's no quick adjustment. Like so like if you're going through the season and like all of a sudden you're shooting and you're like at 50 yards and you're like, man, I'm hitting low, right? That means if you were to go check the poundage of your bow, your poundage is probably going to be different. What you can do is either take it to a shop or do it yourself and give your cable some twist to get your poundage back up. Mm-hmm. Or what you could do is just take a tape, figure out where it's hitting, right? Stay at the distance you're at, and like keep dialing that until you get to the yardage that you want to. So if you're at 50 yards and you're shooting and on your tape it reads 47, go find the tape that matches up the 50 to the 47 on that tape. You can do that as well. But if you're going to a completely different heavy arrow, then you're going to have to start from scratch, which is like good to do anyway, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
learn a lot about it.
Yeah, because that's what I see. Like I'll see a lot of bows like early season where they're just, you can tell there's something wonky with them. They're not quite optimized. Like the sight will be slipped really low, and then their angle is way off, and then their pins aren't nicely centered, and then their bottom pin, like their 60 pin, is buried right on the glass, like right on the bottom. It's harder to aim.
Yeah, it's
Everything's
sitting right
harder,
over the bubble there.
Yeah, because they switched up to like an FMJ or something like that, and then they've moved their pins to accommodate that distance, and then they did a gross adjustment. And you just look at the site; it's all over the place, right? I was just curious.
Or they're just watching too many Ranch Fairy videos, and they're
oh my gosh. What's your optimized setup for poundage for like if you were to build the perfect arrow? If you're like someone's trying to, like, for their speed and all, what are the numbers are you looking for weights for someone doing a setup?
For like me, but like for what I'm doing and what you're doing is going to be different though.
No, I mean like someone's coming in with a new bow, they're not like, what's the optimized, not going super heavy, super light. What
anything
kind of
around the mid 400s I think is fine. You know, if you're going with an average guy like a 28-inch draw length, 450 grain arrow is nothing wrong with that. 100 grains up front and maybe a 50 grain, you know, either outsert or a half, right?
Yeah, because even last year, remember, I tinkered and like I'm running 465 is my arrow right now. That's the same as I did when I did nationals, and I bumped up to, I think I said it was 505, somewhere in there, and we did a round of 3D, and there was just some shit that I couldn't shoot through. Like, you're splitting branches, like a realistic.
Well, because your arrow travels a lot different.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're doing 3D, I think you'd want the flattest shooting arrow you can find.
That's the way
because why do you need it to hit it? Fuck, as long as it's sticking in the target, that's all you should care about.
Yeah, you don't need momentum or performance on impact.
No, you're not worried about busting through bone or anything. No. You're just worried about hitting the target. And like the flatter the shooting arrow, the better. Especially for like a 3D, if you're shooting a 3D with a lot of junk.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have to worry about like, am I going to make it through that or am I not going to make it through that? And like, this is where it gets, okay, like for Wyatt's hunting bow setup, like this is where you come into challenges, because like we had to turn his hunting bow down. He was shooting like 55 pounds. We turned it down to 46 pounds, right? So now you're shooting somebody with a 24.5-inch draw length, shooting a 45-pound bow with, a 500-pound arrow. Like, that's why those Montecs, like the Montec 885s, are like the best for like women or youngster shooting, in my opinion, because they stay sharp, they fly really nice.
You're getting penetration. I've went
and you're
lighter
getting
over the
penetration.
years.
Yeah.
I went lighter.
And like, you
over
don't
the
want a
years
mechanical on for a woman or a young, or somebody with struggling with the ability to pull, or draw length, because draw length is a major factor. Like, you're just not going to get. Somebody with a 27-inch draw length is not going to get the same stuff. Like, you could be shooting a match grade Easton. They're not going to get the same performance out of that arrow as Derek will. It's you won't. You never will. You could shoot the exact same bow, the exact same poundage, everything. You're never going to get the same performance out of that arrow as Derek. Because
Derek can send balls down.
He's getting about, he's going to get about 16 feet per second more out of that arrow than the other guy will.
Yeah.
You just can't compete with that. I mean, now you look at like some of this new stuff that like gas bowstrings is coming out with all the
I was just gonna say that the System X ones. I literally was just looking at them like, that's like the speed. How do you think they're getting that speed though? Do you? I'm hesitant on that, because will it change? Will it like what's?
Well, I think they're using like Well, I think they're not supposed to have any stretch, and like obviously, and the nice thing is like you can only get them in one color, right? They're zebra, black and white. That's it. Because like the Dyneema, like a lot of things too is like guys want, right? Like I like shooting fluorescent yellow strings. but
is that what it
you're
is?
not getting.
It's Diene.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I haven't looked a lot into it, but I'm
I've
pretty
listened
sure
to
it
a
is.
few people who talk about that, who are string builders and stuff like that, and they say, yeah, the more dye that's in it, the more stretch you're going to get. So
Well, you
if
will because that takes up the colorant. You got to add the colorant, right?
Yeah.
And you're either going to get a thicker string, which I mean, like you could go to if you wanted. So you're shooting, say, like I like 99, right? I don't like 452X. I like 99 on a 28 strand. But if I'm shooting a fluorescent, they added a bunch of colorant to that string. The cable and string are going to be thicker. Now, what I can do to substitute for that thicker string is go to a smaller serving.
Yeah.
So my center serving would be serving. But then it all comes down to what nocks you're using, right? Are you using aftermarket? Are you using because like different arrows, every manufacturer, like Black Gold, make their own nocks. Some companies don't.
Yeah.
So and like how tight your nock is on your when you nock your arrow makes a big impact on accuracy.
And I think another thing too is a lot of people, even when you're shooting, it's a little ways away from the strings, but your nocks, I know a lot of people don't ever change them. They shoot and shoot and shoot. Your nocks are a piece of equipment that can wear out too. Like you'll find some after a while, I'll notice don't pop when they go on.
That's why I don't shoot 4 mils because of that reason, because the durability is so intense with that. Like if you shoot nocturnals, like if you don't inspect them, exactly what you're talking about, you'll just notice it like kind of just falls. It's like you put it in and it's kind of it's squashy. It's not like a audible click. It's kind of like spongy, hey. And you look and it'll start cracking open and stuff like that. Or you maybe hit it with an arrow, grazed it with another arrow
and
in the
you
target,
didn't notice.
and you notice it, and yeah, the durability was so poor. That's why I switched to 5 mils as well. Same thing.
Usually, as soon as I start get that, I don't get it often. I'll swap that knockout.
Well, I mean, string pinch is a huge thing, and that's like depending on your draw length, you might need more play up and down too in your nock because the further you pull that string back, the longer again you're getting to more of an acute triangle, the more that's going to pinch down. That's why I like running. I used to always run, and we talked about this before. I always used to run one nock set. Now I run two because the way I look at it is you have 2 pinch points. So when you draw back, that's staying square. If you don't have one, it's going to go like this. Do you know what I mean? Like you're going to have an angle. So like you have a triangle and then it has a flat spot at the end because you got 2 knock points now. So you're pulling on each side of that knock point. You're pulling directly back and this is going to stay straight up and down. And that's what's holding your arrow. If you only have one, it's not going to be as straight. It's going to have the arrow is going to be pulling down on an angle from the top or the bottom. And that's one thing Chris and I, whenever we would talk to Chris, he would always be like, oh, I only run one now. And I'm like, I went to 2. We kind of butt heads on that one subject. But that's the way I look at it, right? Is that you're pulling from both top and bottom of those knock sets evenly, and that's creating a straight line.
Yeah, a straight line of release because it's pivoting off of your knock point and not the string. Yeah,
exactly. So, but then if you're shooting like a lizard tongue, a lot of guys only run one because they want to make sure that they keep pressure on that blade, right? But that's a different
I hear you. So it's
thing
pressing
altogether.
down a bit on it.
Yeah, because you want a bit of tension on that blade, right?
Interesting. Never even thought of that. Well, yeah. Crazy. Another rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah. You need Greg Poole. Talk to Greg Poole about some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. I was just listening to a bunch of your knock talk podcasts. That last one with the Super Sabers, the vein. That was pretty. That was pretty.
Yeah, that guy's. I was forgetting more stuff than that guy was telling me. Like I had a notepad in front of me and I was writing it all down and I couldn't even keep up.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to pick up a pack of those just to try them out because you can get them in Calgary at Archery World. It's the only place I found.
Yeah, he said there's 2 places you can get them, but
yeah. So I might take the long way down to Lethbridge just so I can stop in there and grab a pack.
You gonna get the minis?
No, I think the other ones. I think the Super Sabers, to the same height as the Max AE Max that I run, Hunters that I run.
For the hunting application, it would be better the bigger ones because they have that larger profile. It's funny because exact same things he was saying is the same stuff that Iron Wills, when they came out with that other hybrid cut that they did, they found the same kind of thing with their
Yeah.
fluid dynamics tests. It's funny because like that stabilization over under stabilization, um, like for like bolts and stuff, it's pretty pronounced. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Even like through work, we have on turbines, we have vortex
Yeah. Well,
generators and stuff.
yeah.
It was very fascinating how everything he was saying, like, yeah, like that makes
Well,
perfect
yeah,
sense,
definitely for
right?
you because you deal with that on a daily basis, right? You're dealing with
Yeah,
turbines
yeah,
and wind. And so
yeah.
like all that you could probably when he was explaining all that, you probably
Oh yeah, it connected
you
a whole
probably
lot.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah.
Like
But
on the
like
trailing edge of like a blade on a turbine, like we'll put striations like saw teeth in the back to get rid of disruptive flow
oh yeah.
for turbulence for the next incoming blade coming in, and then also like he's talking about on the like the top side of the blade, the one that's facing in on the actual turbulent air coming past,
Yeah.
we put vortex generators, which oddly enough are almost the same shape as his veins.
Yeah. Oh
We
really?
put
Yeah.
a strip on there, and that creates that additional uh,
Yeah.
flow, right? Like pressure, like he was talking about, without
Yeah, well, it's
noise.
funny too. Yeah, and like he created those veins just for sound, and then all of a sudden he started going down rabbit holes, right? Of like aerodynamics
It's
and like
interesting that he was able to get the sound problem and still have stabilization.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it'll be interesting too, because I think he recommends 3 vein, not 4.
Yeah,
And that's an experiment that I would like to try too. Be like, I can run the same arrow, just take one
well, you could
one
try
vein
that, dude.
off,
With yeah, you could try that
and
with
just
any
yeah,
vein you
and
have.
just I'd like to try it with my fixed blade broadheads just to see, like, oh man, these things are laser beams, or
it
like I don't need the extra one on there.
Well, I
just
mean those Max 100 you have, those are great. I think those are better for like if you're shooting a fixed blade broadhead. What are you shooting for your broadheads?
I've got the Grim Reaper, not make the Hades, the 4 blade.
Okay.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Hades
because
Pro.
you're
So
shooting the
do you
micros,
paper
right?
tune your
Yeah.
broadheads?
No,
No, I don't
no,
either. I
no.
don't paper tune. I paper tune my bow, but I'll do walk back tune.
That's what I
I'll do
do.
line
Yeah,
tuning
same.
for my broadheads, but I don't paper tune.
Yeah,
I don't bother paper tuning I paper tune my bow. I definitely do with a field point,
yeah.
but I don't paper tune my bow with Grim Reaper on it. I just shoot at the target with the Grim Reaper, and I walk back tuning.
Yeah, I find the paper is just, it's like macro tuning. It's just, it gets, okay, we're there. Even if
Well,
you
I
see
think paper
even,
tuning is important. I definitely do. I
oh,
think it just lets you
absolutely.
know where your string needs to go.
But I just find as soon as you got to have that bang on, but I wouldn't be terribly worried if you had a tiny tear left or something like that. You know what I mean? Like because I think you're going to find out what exactly is going on as soon as you start walk back tuning from a distance. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
because
It's going to show more.
you have more drag on the front, and any misalignment is going to show a hesitation on the recovery of that arrow, and then it's going to kick towards that direction before it recovers. So it's going to sustain the direction of travel for just momentarily longer, and then that's why you have like a hit left. It's because it's pitched left. That
Yeah.
can be from the design of the blade, though. You may not be able to, it's not necessarily a reason for like, oh, it's off. Like your bow
Yeah,
may
it
not
could
be
be that.
tuned off.
Well, and
It's just the
we
design,
talked about
right?
this before. Yeah, it's like
How
when
the
I
air
was
is hitting
shooting
it.
those sharpshooters, those 4-blade sharpshooters, I was shooting a left helical. It was shooting great, and I put those broadheads on, and all of a sudden it would do weird things. But then if I did the same thing with a right helical, that it would fly a lot better, right? And that could be the design of the broadhead itself.
Yeah, and I found like last year, like after doing all the line tuning, like it was like money. Like everything looked perfect. I'd shoot a broadhead out at like 60, and then I'd shoot a field point. And I never really think that broadheads and field points are going to hit like identical. I'm not worried about that. Um, but holy shit, it was just like I had one that would go right just a tiny bit. And just like we're talking micro adjustments here. There was nothing ever like off. And that's when I made the last rest adjustment. It was like literally a 30-second.
Yeah.
the sound of the arrow, the flight of the arrow, I didn't even need to see the impact. I could have literally turned around like Steph Curry and being like, it's money, and walked away.
Yeah, and
And
see
it was
when I
just
do
like
my
70 yards dead center.
when I do my line tuning or walk back tuning, I'm not moving my rest. I'm moving my cams over.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll go on my target. I'll shoot at 20, right? Or first of all, I'll set a string with a weight with usually a big washer on it down the middle of the target, right? Shoot at the very top with my 20, walk back to 30, shoot with my 20 pin at the same line, 40, 50, 60. And you'll see if something's out of whack I do this with the broadhead on. If something's out of whack, it's going to start going down. Like it's going to start looking like a landslide, right?
Yeah.
Like it'll be on an angle. So when I do that, then I start bringing my rest. And usually like I do get lazy. And then so like I've done it enough now. If my 20 is good, my 30 is off a little bit, and then I shoot my 40 and it's out a bit, I'll overcompensate when I'm shimming my cams over just because I'm too lazy to go shoot it, move it a bit, go to 50, move it a bit again. Sometimes I go a little too far and then I got to bring it back when I get to 60. But I'll usually at that 30 mark, I'll go shim it and then I'll shoot 40, 50, 60 and I'll see where it's at. And then I just kind of like micro tune from there. But then I always go back and then I shoot 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 using my 20 pin on that line, right? But I don't paper tune with that. And I shoot the same broadhead. I just glue it. I glue the blades shut.
Yeah. I hear you. And that'll be the nice thing about all these new bows. And be like,
oh fuck! Well, that's the nice thing about that bow tech is I don't have to go put it in the press.
Yeah, and
I can just use an Allen key.
If you have to do all this at the range too, you don't have to bring it back and forth from home to back, to press it and to move stuff.
Yeah,
and tweak here.
And that's the same thing with that Matthews. I'm just curious to see how long to see if there's any issues as people start shooting it.
With the limbs.
With the limb, because you think you're taking something that's carbon,
and you're torquing it.
That has a set shape. Carbon has a set shape, and now you're basically manipulating the torque of that, and then inducing torque the other way. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah,
and there's already an immense amount of torque in there.
Yeah, and they sit under load constantly. But I mean,
those arc ones, that's what they have now. I'm not sure. I think they had like a reinforced lamination type. I'm sure they probably put structured carbon in there, which will be side to side. That it's not as sensitive to torque as like grain structured carbon.
Okay.
And that's what you normally see, like when you hit an edge on your limb and then it peels up and it delams. That's what that carbon is, right? Okay. So it's very good at up and down and kind of minimal movement. But not like torquing, like twisting. Yeah. That's what I was wondering about. Like if they're like, because there's obviously got to be limits, right? That's why I was talking about center shot and like how far is it that you can go before you're out of whack and you're putting undue load on those limbs.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, luckily enough, you're not running like you remember like on some like Bear was famous for like they had like on their yokes, they would tie their yokes up to the outside of their limbs, right?
Yeah.
And then that's really hard in your axle because now you're pulling on both sides of your axle.
Yeah, you'd have to have a pretty beefy axle.
Yeah. But I mean, so now, I mean, with all these split limbs, one limb is on most bows, as they got newer, they were reinforcing one of the limbs depending on inside or outside, or depending on if you shot left or right, the inside limb, right?
Yeah, like yoke tuning and doing weird stuff in the past. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how many people get themselves into trouble. It's great to
be able to
do stuff on your stuff.
Find problems.
Well, I think if you don't, you have to now. I think these bows and bow companies have gotten so out of like you have to.
Yeah.
Like you have to. If you don't, then you
have to improve.
You have to improve.
Yeah.
And then you look at companies look at Hoyt and Matthews and even like some of the Dart and stuff that they came out with. And then I don't even want to get into those funky primes, but
you see the hybrid prime? I was like, this is the most innovative, exciting thing I've seen. It's just
Is that
weird.
the one?
It's
Is that the
different.
one that's got the straight
With the
sections and the
tubes.
risers?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Well, it's got
tubes.
carbon. It's carbon and aluminum, right?
Yeah.
Thinking outside the box.
But like, how light do you need your bow?
I don't want it light. Well, I mean, I want it light, but I don't want it that light. I want some weight to
Well,
it.
that's
so
it. I mean, like,
feel it.
how light
What-
do you really need it?
What's your setup? Weigh. Mine's like I like mine 6.2 pounds. That's where I like mine.
I don't know. I'd have to weigh it.
6.2 with arrows.
I bet it's close to that though.
Yeah. Like,
I'm sorry, but if you can't pack that around, could do some more stairs because your
Carry a
rifle's
10-pound
probably
dumbbell around all day, or just grab a concrete block. It's 38 pounds. Pack that around all day, and then see how light your bow feels.
oh yeah, my hunting rifle's 14 pounds.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I bet you even the average rifle is probably 9 pounds fully equipped.
Yeah, with a
Well,
bipod loaded up, everything's
Yeah.
big scopes. It's like it's like eight pounds is a nice
Yeah.
rifle's weight. Like
So it's
6
like-
pounds too light.
Even
But,
your
like-
all these hunting bows are like super light, so I always hate hearing on, like, oh, you want this light bow for
Well,
when
they're
you're
trying to-
backpacking way
yeah.
in. Be like, well, no, you can.
They
cut
want to
back
come
on
in
other
under
shit.
like a bare bow under 4 pounds, and
Yeah,
it's
they
like,
want to be the lightest.
yeah.
Yeah.
The lightest or this. It's like
It's just
make
it's
it-
just
make
a
it
marketing
shoot-
ploy.
Yeah, it
right?
is. Make it-
if
make
you
it
if
shoot.
you said this is the third lightest bow on the market, it's not going to sound as great as the lightest bow on the market.
I wonder that too, as we're getting lighter, like has the actual weight changed? Because guys are using these giant bars to kind of offset and stabilizers and
Yeah.
do like what is like
At
has
the
the
end of the day,
actual
the total.
average guy's setup has it
Yeah.
actually gotten lighter?
Well, a
That's
lot of guys have
Like,
gone
you're adding
to
a lot of shit
yeah,
onto it.
a lot of guys have gone to longer stabilizers and back bars now.
Yeah.
Well, and you throw on
And-
some 700 green arrows in there too. Now you're
Holy shit. So
Like-
I kind of went down that Ranch Prairie rabbit hole for a while. I switched back. I was shooting
So like,
500.
well, that whole thing is from
550.
is oh man, what's that?
I know the paper you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's-
From
but
what the fuck is that guy's name again?
what the hell is the doctor? I
Isby
know.
or
Yeah, Isby
Yeah.
test or whatever. Yeah, I know. But at the end of the day, like there's an optimized
Ed
setup.
Ashby. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Ed Ashby. Yeah.
yeah.
He did all that stuff in Africa when you're shooting all that wild game.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
heavy
it's
points.
it's interesting, but at the same time, like the optimized setup, I feel like is the way to go.
I have never been a fan. Like I tinkered a little bit with FOC, but I've never been a fan. I don't like my arrows going like I just threw a football, like a baseball. I like them
No.
going straight. I like velocity and shot placement.
A thing that people don't, I think about as much is flight time and the effects from time of shot to time of target impact and its effects on drag.
I'm gonna
You're like like if you have high winds, if you have something moving, it's better to have a straighter line of shot because number one, like even for like the close stuff, I went down the rabbit hole same as you. Heavy, I'm shooting elk at 40 yards and in. But then you start seeing like, okay, I'm in thick timber all the time. You got to be able to window shoot where you can shoot through a little pocket. And if you have this big arch, your equipment has to get better too. Because like your rangefinders, they're taking into account that laser. But as you go steeper and steeper and steeper, if there's any difference in that, like it's not a straight line shooting shot, it's not accounting
you're not
for
shooting
the
on flight
trajectory.
ground. Yeah.
It's accounting for just the shot distance on flat ground. And it does do a pretty good job. But again, there's errors in that. And the bigger the arch, the more the errors are going to be pronounced. You'll impact low. You have the same thing with like long range rifle shots. It's the same thing. So it's like when you're shooting your arrows, if you don't have an optimized setup, like you won't get parachuting. That was one thing that in that thing, they did tests on parachuting too, where they're like talking about like parachuting's effect only like if you're above, I think it was like 13% FOC, and if you're 450 or higher, you have very little parachuting. Even if you're spinning up max helical.
Okay, but
Very little parachuting.
what this all has to like there's other variables there. Arrow length.
Yeah.
Poundage of bow you're shooting. Like these all come into play as well. Like If
Yeah,
you're
the
shooting
thing
a
is, though-
350 grain arrow out of an 80-pound bow and a 32-inch draw length, well, no fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So, but what I'm saying, like, you're not getting too much parachuting, even on max helical at 450, which is like the most like average setup is like 440, 450.
I've never had a problem shooting a bow that's over 70 pounds with a 28.5-inch arrow and usually a 70, my draw length. Never had any problem shooting a 450 grain arrow ever. Ever with 100 up front, like ever.
No, I think this pass through was the first not shot where it wasn't a pass through on an elk, and that's because it was it was a quartering away shot.
Yeah,
right. And I hit the front shoulder. Every other one has been pass through city, like going right through them. See the arrowhead.
Well, a lot of people use the analogy is they use the analogy of like if I threw a brick at you or a baseball, what would hurt? Well, it depends. If
Depends on if it's pointy.
Well, no, like if Randy Johnson threw a baseball at your face, it's going to hurt a lot more than if I threw it at your face, right? But that goes to arrow speed, right? We're talking speed here is a big difference.
And we're talking blades, directional projectiles. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, yeah, it hurts, okay. But the form of the object is the same. That's the thing. People try and use that analogy because they're like, oh, it's like a bullet. It's like, well, no, it's not the same thing because the arrow is still the same shape as the arrow, right? You're only having the momentum factor that's changing. That's it.
Yeah.
You see, and because you have an inverse reaction because you go lighter, you're increasing your speed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're increasing your speed and your tip pounds per square inch on your tip is still immense. Like you're still gonna get and it's like, well, what is causing the kill? The impact or the cutting through? And it's
exactly. I was gonna say because like you could be running a really heavy arrow or heavy broadhead that has a total cut of 1 inch. It's not getting a whole lot of drag as it's passing through that animal, but it's also not doing as much damage as 4 blades that are opening up 2 inches each, and they're traveling through that animal, and they're just cutting everything to shit 4 inches in diameter, right?
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, it's all about what's going to make you the most effective killer.
Those reps. That's what's going to do it.
Don't worry about anybody else. Just worry about yourself.
And those miles, Pete.
And the what?
Are you going to... so this is the year you're going to start running?
Fuck that.
He's going to start powerlifting.
Are you?
No.
Right. What kind of training are you going to do this year?
I'm probably going to get into a bit of calisthenics. And I'm still doing the weights. Like I haven't posted much, but I've been working out every day. And if I can't work out, I'm stretching. I'm making sure that's a big thing just to make sure I'm limber. I'm just finding I get better sleep too. If I'm not all tight and everything, especially in the wintertime when I'm driving a truck all the time. I know I've been hitting the weights pretty steady. Lots of stretching, flexibility, mobility. And then, I'm going to probably just get to the calisthenics and stuff and keep that strength up and going. Especially since I want to do a lot more 3D shoots and stuff. I want to just see how it affects everything. I had a great year this year. Like I felt there's no way I could have done this year with where I went and how easy I went to those places without the training that I did. So I can step it up a little more. That's great. But there will be no running. I still say, if I'm running, you better run. Because there's something big with teeth and fucking claws that's chasing me and I'm out of bullets. Bullets, arrows, whatever I got, bear spray.
I was going to bring it up, but I forgot. Something with grizzly bears, and I forgot now. Right on. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Hope everyone had a good year. All the best in the new year. And we'll wrap this up, hey, boys?
You betcha.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
Okay. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Christmas.
Take care.
Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter, or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
Gear up for the hunt and learn from the best with Deer and Deer Hunting Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV. Tune in every week for expert hunting tips and unforgettable moments in the field. Waypoint TV, your destination for outdoor entertainment.